Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening. You've reached Black Authors Matter TV, and we are a few minutes late going live. We had a couple little technical difficulties. It
always happens
occasionally with a live show. You just never know. I always test it early in the day to make sure everything's going perfectly, but every now and then it messes up. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And Curtis, you asked if we were live. We're live now. We're a few minutes behind schedule. And we have another amazing show tonight. And our first guest had to log off because of the technical difficulties. So she's going to log back in.
Oh, she's here. If you're ready to let her in, we can let her in.
Well, let me make one announcement. I keep forgetting. I had to switch over and make Rhonda the host on Zoom. So I can't see anything. It just really it's disconcerting for me. But anyway, about the National Black Book Festival. It is 6 weeks away. It is coming up so fast. So if you all want vendor space, it's all sold out. But you can still attend and get the full festival experience. If you
we have a good time.
We have a great time. The full festival package includes 3 events where we serve food. It's a reception and 2 breakfasts. And that's where you really get the networking and all of the personal interaction with people. So because we're late, without further ado, we're going to bring on our first guest, Bonnie Newman Davis. And I want to tell her, we appreciate your patience. We rarely have technical difficulties, but
it happens
when it's a live show, it happens sometimes. So Bonnie, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's great. Yeah. I'm always looking for a break, and I've been working all day. So this is, good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this will be an enjoyable break for you.
It's the time. We just have a conversation with our guests. And what I noticed about your bio is that your upbringing, matriculation, and all of that is all in my neck of the woods.
Oh, really? North Carolina?
Yes.
Where?
Well, I'm from Newport News, Virginia.
Right.
So I know you. You're the managing editor of the Richmond Free Press.
Yes, exactly.
So, and that's only 60 miles from Newport News.
Right.
And then my sister went to Bennett College.
Oh, okay.
My brother-in-law went to A&T, where they met while they were in college. And so, and Virginia Commonwealth, you were just, I had friends from high school that went to VCU.
Okay. So,
you're all over.
Where are you located now?
Houston. I've been in Houston for a minute.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
But all of my upbringing, all of my extended family is in North Carolina. I'm the only one in Texas.
Okay.
And I'm about 3 hours away from you. I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Oh, wonderful. Right up the road. Yep.
Right.
Good old 95 North, or 495 or 395.
Yes. Goes up and down the East Coast. Well, you came to our attention because of your, I guess it's your latest book, but the book we wrote called Truth Tellers.
Yay!
Oh, and you have a copy of it. And it's about the power and presence of Black women journalists.
Yeah.
Since 1960.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
What made you focus on women journalists as a topic for a book?
Well, several reasons. number one, I've long been affiliated with the National Association of Black Journalists. I've served as a chapter president. I founded a chapter here in Richmond. I was regional director. And I think it mainly came to my attention when I was the NABJ Journal editor, which was the quarterly magazine. And noticed in editing and writing for the journal that most of the features and profiles tended to focus on Black male journalists, which was great, because they definitely need their props and to be recognized. And so I got to interview Ed Graves with Black Enterprise Magazine, Dean Barquette, who just left the New York Times as executive editor, and just a whole host of different lovely Black men, Lerone Bennett, who was with Ebony Magazine, of course.
Right.
But at the same time, there was, just something kind of stirring in my head saying, where are the women? Where are the Black women journalists? Because I knew that some had been president of NABJ, such as Dorothy Gilliam, who's in my book, and Vanessa Williams, and just several other outstanding Black women. So that really put the idea in my head. Plus, I was teaching in academia at VCU, as you mentioned, and one of the things that teaching involves in a university setting is, writing. Publish or perish, if you've ever heard that expression.
Yeah.
And so I was about to perish, of course. And and writing is what I've done since, gosh, for the past 40 years. And so that's what made me jump on that idea. And that was back in 2006, I think it was. Plus, I'd also taught a course that involved Black women journalists, such as Ida B. Wells, Dorothy Dunnigan, Alice Dunnigan, I may have her name incorrect. And so I learned a lot about these women. Ethel Payne, as a matter of fact, I was an Ethel Payne Fellow, received a fellowship with the National Association of Black Journalists. And so I was able to travel to Africa, visited Ghana, because that's what the fellowship does. So, writing a book, it was just all in me, deep in my soul, and started actively writing about it or interviewing in 2015. This was several years later. And once I did that, it took me another few years in terms of actually sitting down to write it. And that was with the onset of the pandemic. So, I didn't have any more excuses at that point. I had to get busy. And
So are these interviews with well, I know you probably weren't able to interview all of them. So I'm sorry.
No, go on.
No, I was saying, I know you may not have been able to interview all of them, like for instance, Ida B. Wells, but
no.
did you interview some of the later people?
Yes, well, let me think. Everyone in my book, they were interviewed, and most of them came into mainstream newsrooms starting in the 1960s. Okay. And we all know that history in terms of majority newsrooms being mostly white. There were certainly Black journalists, such as Ethel Payne and the others that I mentioned, but they were with the Black press. So with the onset of the Civil Rights Movement, and later in 1968, the Kerner Commission report, which President Johnson commissioned that report because after all of the racial riots that started maybe 1965 and continued up until Dr. Martin Luther King's death. And certainly there were other race riots prior to that, but it had gotten to the point where many leaders, civil rights leaders, were calling for something to be done. And so with the Kerner Commission reports released in 1968, 2 months before Dr. King passed, it was stated that we were living in an era of two societies, one Black, one white. And it was deemed that the American media had a lot to do with it. One, because they had not done an effective job of letting people know, when I say people, mostly white people, know about the situation that so many Blacks were living in, and which were at the heart and root of a lot of the anger and everything else that occurred with these riots throughout the summer in major cities. And even in the South, there were, protests. And we often heard about what was going on in Detroit, Chicago, New York, and other places, but there were actually cities in some of the southern states too, where this was happening. And some of the women in my book, they can recount and recall many of the protests that occurred. So yeah, that's really when, to answer your question about some of the women, there are 24 different women in the book.
Okay.
And I interviewed the majority of them, at least 15 to 16. I knew quite a few of the women from NABJ and from having worked with them. And Cassandra Spratling, for example, we were in graduate school together at the University of Michigan. And so she had worked for, I believe, the paper in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She worked in maybe Iowa one summer. But I always admired her so much because she was so passionate about going back to Detroit and becoming a reporter for the Detroit Free Press. And she was just very dogged and determined. And we were Booth scholars. We received full rides to attend the University of Michigan. So we didn't have to pay anything, and which was great.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, that is always
That was a good thing. But I'm still, in need of money because I like to go, at every opportunity. But anyway, I say that to say that I just admired her. Well, one thing was that we were supposed to go to a Booth newspaper to work as part of the deal. So, I worked for the Ann Arbor News during one summer, and she worked probably, I don't know where she worked, but we both broke the rule when we graduated, and I came to Richmond, and she got a job in Detroit. And she stayed there up until maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years now. But she just, loved her some Detroit. And that just gave me a lot of admiration and respect for that, because I didn't want to go back to Greensboro, even though I did eventually to teach at my alma mater, A&T. But I was always a bright lights, big city, kind of person. I just wanted to experience, the highlights. And so I wanted to come to Houston because I'd come to Houston when I was at A&T. Back
Well,
then,
that was when we had two newspapers, most likely.
yeah,
The daily.
NABJ was in Houston one year. It was great.
Yes, it was.
And just all sorts of things. But I ended up in Richmond. It was pretty close to home. I had a few relatives here, and I'd read in Black Enterprise that it had Black leadership here in Richmond. And as it turns out, my senior year in college, that's when I really discovered Blacks in the political system. I took a wonderful course, and that just sort of opened my eyes to, a lot. My senior year, but it was enough. And so when I was at Michigan, I studied, my minor was African-American history. Yeah, African-American history. But I've always been interested in politics and Black leadership since then.
And I think that's really where I've seen a lot of Black women journalists shine, is in the political arena.
Yeah.
They know how to tell a story, and they're not afraid to ask the hard questions.
That's right. Particularly in broadcast journalism. And
yes.
So many more of us now in that realm, and it's just amazing. It's really great.
Yeah. So does your book have a good mixture of people in print media?
Yes, it's mainly print.
Okay.
The women in the book mainly come from print backgrounds, but diverse in terms of location and the various jobs that they worked or beats that they covered. You have former executives such as Deborah Hurd, who worked for the Washington Post, and Wanda Lloyd, who was with USA Today, and Dorothy Gilliam, of course. She's a long-time columnist. Who else? We have.
What about Charlene Hunter Galt? Is she in your book?
No, I didn't get Charlene, and I wanted to. She was definitely on my list, along with Isabel Wilkerson, who was on my list, and
April Ryan. April Ryan.
I'm sorry.
April Ryan.
April. You know what? April's book came out maybe a year or so before mine.
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing too, the deciding factor, because a lot of these women have books of their own. Paula Madison, who was in broadcast but started out in print, I believe in Texas. I really wanted to include her, but you know, that's the beauty of the book, because I can always expand and go on and, you know, do
a volume 2.
Well,
yeah,
I think what the beauty
exactly.
of the book is that you know, people like April Ryan, they have a platform. They've been around. A lot of people know who they are. I think
Right.
your book is actually able to give some other people a voice and a platform that they may not have had before.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. You know, it's definitely a labor of love, and I learned so much, you know, reading the book. I learned a lot about myself. I think it has definitely helped me, because when I wrote it, I was not working full time. And so then to be tapped to come back into journalism full time as a managing editor for a Black owned weekly newspaper in Richmond.
Richmond Free Press.
Richmond Free Press, yes. So just, you know, with their stories like resonating in the back of my mind, I'm just, you know, certain things about leadership and management and working with different personalities, and, you know, just all those things. I can hear those women's voices telling me how they approach different things, such as Pamela McAllister Johnson, who was first Black woman publisher of a mainstream newspaper in this country. She was publisher of the Ithaca Journal. And after she left that paper in Ithaca, New York, she went on to various other fields and endeavors, but she ended up teaching at Western Kentucky University, actually leading that journalism department. So here's the thing. When I was still in undergraduate school, Pamela came to my university and spoke to us as students. She was teaching at Norfolk State then. So full circle, I had not seen her for some 30 years, and I went to Western Kentucky as part of a group of journalists or professors, Black professors, and, you know, there was some sort of workshop, and, you know, it just warmed my heart when she said, "I remember you."
Well, you know what? Let's not look over the fact that you have opened up some doors for a lot of young journalists as well. You've been in the field for 4 decades. You're teaching journalism. So you're opening up a lot of doors as well. So I appreciate that. What a lot of people don't know is that I'm a former journalist as well, but I did military journalism.
Oh,
so
wow.
when I was in the Army,
yes,
that was my job to you know, to take photos, to write stories. We had our own newspapers. My last assignment in the military was with American Forces Network.
Okay.
Yeah, so
wonderful.
So I did dip my big toe into journalism. I just didn't. I just stayed on the PR side instead of the journalism side when I got out.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, you know, they're well regarded, well respected. I know a lot of people built their careers starting with military journalism and coming out and, you know, going straight into a newsroom. So I commend you. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Now,
And I thank you for what you're doing.
Little toe in it too, but mostly as a op-ed writer. Like I wrote
Oh,
op-eds
okay.
for many, many
Oh,
years. I had a
okay.
column in USA Today, a monthly
Wow.
column for 4 years. But I did
Oh,
mostly op-ed. I did a little, straight
yeah.
reporting
Well,
for
anytime
small
you want to
publishers.
write for the Free Press, just let me know. You don't
There
need
you
Oh,
to
well,
go.
let me know, just send it.
I haven't done one in a long time, in a while. Well, it's probably been 10 years or so since I
Yeah.
did it. I mean, I could still do it if I wanted to. I had 1 or 2 pieces in the Detroit Free Press.
Oh,
This was
wonderful.
back during, it was related to when Obama ran for president.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
Well, speaking of the Free Press and Cassandra again, in my book, her story, she talks about, well, of course, meeting Rosa Parks, who moved to Detroit, but also the march in Selma, and no, it was either Selma, I think it may have been Montgomery, Alabama, going back after 50 years and speaking with some of the participants in that march and interviewing them. And it's just a very, very poignant story, when she talks about how she could have cried, hearing one of the women talk about how her feet were just, how she had to soak her feet in Epsom salt after marching
Oh, I can
continuously.
imagine. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
imagine.
So,
so what do
very
you think is,
sweet.
what do you think women bring to news
Mhm.
in terms of point of view, perspective that's different?
Hmm.
Black women in particular.
Black women in
Mhm.
particular, I think they are able to see um, the hidden layers of certain stories. And of course, the whole thing about us being more nurturing and caring and sensitive and all of that. And I think that makes a big difference in, the overall art of storytelling. Yeah. And, perhaps a little bit more patient than
I think
men.
the storytelling piece of it is so huge
Yeah.
because we know how to tell a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tap into that griot tradition and we bring it into the newsroom, and some of the most poignant documentaries
Right.
are
Oh,
either by or about Black women.
Ava, is a good
Yeah.
example.
Yes.
And so many others who are rising up for sure. So yeah, and the beauty is that we have so many who have come up since the 1960s and continuing to come. And that speaks volumes because it's not an easy field. As you know, nothing is easy, but I think what we do, because you sacrifice so much. I mean, there are days when even now, I can't talk to people if I'm on a deadline.
Yeah.
So
I'm with
they'll
you on
call
that
me, they'll
one.
call. And speaking of editorials, I mean, I would love to write more opinion pieces and things like that because I have plenty to say, but you have to know what you're talking about. You have to
Mhm.
research, you have to
Yes. Yeah.
verify and, do
Right.
fact
Yeah, you
finding.
can't just be mouthing stuff off. You have
Right.
to have some
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah. People are quick,
Whatever you're mouthing off, you have to be able to support it
That's
with
right,
facts.
because people
Yeah.
will check you. So,
Yes. Mhm.
Well,
that's part of it.
unfortunately, we've come to the end of the half hour. I know we started a little bit late, but I wanted to give you time to remind us where we can find your book and how
Oh,
we
yeah.
can connect with you.
Okay, sure. I have a website, BonnieNewmanDavis.com, and there is a page where you can order the book there, but I'm also on Amazon. And if you have my number and you call me, I can mail you a copy.
All right, now don't tempt us. We're gonna all the time now.
Right. I usually have some on hand here, but it's just, yeah, you can get a signed copy. But Amazon for sure. And I hope that audiences will, the viewership tonight will purchase the book and read it. more importantly, read it.
Yes, we did put the link in the chat though, so
Wonderful.
everybody can tap on the link right now and order this book. I mean, this is history that's still in the making. A lot of these women are actually still in the newsroom, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's incredible. When I had a book session in Charlotte recently, so there are 3 women from Charlotte who are in the book, even though they may have worked in different places. May Israel, Fannie Flono, and Patrice Gaines. Patrice probably is the most famous because she used to work for the Post, and she wrote a book years and years ago, Dancing in the Dark, Laughing in the Dark. But they're still working. They stay busy. They have ministries. They have, clients that range from whomever and whatever that, serve them well. Because with their level of expertise, they probably can command pretty much any fee that they want. And so the job, there's a lot of sustainability in it. If you are blessed to live and retire and be free to accept some of these opportunities or not. If you want to be like me and aspire to a beach home, become a beach bum, you can do that too.
Well, Bonnie, show the cover of your book again so
Here it
people
is.
can know when they're looking, they know. It's called Truth Tellers. And the subhead is the power and presence of Black women journalists since 1960. Thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Wow. Well, thank you. And I look forward to joining you again. I hope that you all have a great evening.
And you do the same. God bless you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I forgot to mention we have 2 books to give away, but since we're running a little bit behind, we'll give them away after this interview with Eric Betts. I assume he's waiting because I can't see it. So
he's coming in. He's coming in.
Okay, so Eric is joining us.
There he is. Oh,
there
look
he
at the
is.
bow tie. Yes.
He's all dressed up, ready to go. He has a book called Good Cop, Bad Cop, and it's a sociological and theological study of the Black Muslims and the Black church, which I thought that was a very interesting topic. And he's joining us from Florence, Alabama. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be on here with you all.
Okay.
And we're happy to have you. Thank you so much.
And you're also a pastor, so you do a lot. You have a PhD in Black political theology. And did you get your PhD before you became a pastor or while you were pastoring?
I received my PhD while I was pastoring. My first PhD I received in 2016. I wasn't pastoring at that particular time, but I was teaching at a university. And the most recent PhD that I have in Black political theology, I finished that. I started right after I finished my first PhD, but 2016 is when I started, and 2022 is when I finished, which was a blessing because I probably could have finished a little bit earlier, but I'm so happy that that I was able to, even though 2020 was such a difficult year, I was able to shift gears. I had time to shift gears on what I was going to write about to what I was, what my heart was saying to me that I needed to write about based on the events of 2020. So my dissertation shifted. I was about to write about leadership and conflict management. But when 2020 rolled around and all of the events that happened with George Floyd, with Ahmaud Arbery, with Breonna Taylor, the Palestinian conflict, the conflict between the police and protesters totally shifted my what was on my heart at that particular time. And so I had the time to shift a little bit and take what I was writing about before and what was going on in 2020 to complete my PhD dissertation.
Yeah, 2020, and well, that year's
It was a year of
but,
reflection. Yeah.
But yeah, because of COVID and 2021 too, to a lesser degree, because it was still around. But 2020, a lot of shifting occurred. Just a lot of books were written. There have been so many people on our show over the 3 years that we've had the show that wrote a book during COVID. So I did too. So it was when you're locked down, you have some time to reflect and just
But even though you have time to reflect, I still bow down to anybody who puts themselves through the misery of 2 PhD programs.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I did my doctorate. I finished my doctorate in 2016 as well. And I said, I don't want to see the inside of a classroom, whether it's virtual or in person. I was exhausted.
I can imagine.
But congratulations, though. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and my dad was a pastor. He's deceased now, but he got his PhD while pastoring, and he got his PhD at Howard. And he and three of his friends drove from Newport News to DC every week for I think 3 years, and they all got their PhDs at the same time. So that's it. But he had an honorary doctorate, but he wanted to earn one. So
amazing.
So he did that. He was very excited. It was very educational year. So you teach too, right?
Well, I was just about to ask about the good cop, bad cop.
Okay.
Well, I just thought it was interesting because you're a pastor. Are you a pastor at what type of church? I
pastor the Macedonia Baptist Church in Corinth, Mississippi.
Okay, so that's why I thought it was interesting. I'm sorry.
It's right on the border. Right on the border of Alabama and Mississippi.
Okay, so that's why I thought it was interesting that you wrote about the Black Muslims and the Black church. I guess it's the relationship between the two.
Yes. It provides for the reader a comparative study between the history of liberation movements and freedom movements within the Black church, and also comparing that to the street preachers of the Harlem Renaissance, because the ethos between the two are the same. Now, not all Black churches were focused on liberation and the freedom struggle, but those who were have a similar thread of emphasis. The street preachers of the Harlem Renaissance and the churches that were promoting Black liberation and were part of the freedom struggle. Now, in my book, I have on the front cover Dr. King and Malcolm X. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this study is because so many Christian leaders struggle with how to talk about Malcolm X because he was not a part of the church. But Dr. King had a view of the more militant street preachers, movers and shakers. He believed that they were doing the Lord's work as well. Many people try to put a distance between Dr. King and Malcolm X, but Dr. King believed that they were doing the same type of work. As a matter of fact, Malcolm X believed the same thing too. And one of the Malcolm X debates that he had, he says the goal is liberation, which is what Jesus was all about. Because I'm talking about it from a Christian perspective. He came to set the captives free. So Malcolm said, the only difference we have is strategy. He says, our goal is not integration. Our goal is not separation. Our goal is liberation. So that was both the goal of Dr. King and that was the goal of Malcolm X. I talk about in the book how Malcolm X, if you would just take clips of some of his speeches and some of his debates, you can hear a lot of Christian ethics in his speeches. For example, when he went to Los Angeles, when there was a case of police brutality against a gentleman by the name of Ronald Stokes, he talked about how, because there were Christians in the room, there were people from different backgrounds in the room, Muslims were all in the same church coming together to talk about how to fight this issue of police brutality. And so Malcolm talked about how Jesus would be on our side. He talked about how they charged Jesus with sedition, how they said that Jesus was against Caesar, how Jesus would be considered a racist because he says, go not the way of the Gentiles, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he said, if Jesus were alive in America today, he wouldn't be going to the white man. The white man is the oppressor, in Malcolm's words. He would be going to the oppressed. He would be going to the despised. He would be going to the rejected. He would be going to the so-called American Negro. And in that speech, Christians, Muslims, socially conscious individuals all applauded. Because once again, the goal is liberation. Now, the reason why in my description it talks about the symbiotic relationship between the two is because both the socially conscious, and I talk about the Black Muslims in the context of the socially conscious and the spirit of the Harlem street preachers, is that there was a pull between the two. The Black church was pulling the socially conscious movement, the Black Muslims, toward political action because they were somewhat resistant to political action. And the socially conscious movement, the Black Muslims, because of their rhetoric and because of their influence, were pulling the church more towards the direction of Black pride, Black liberation, pulling the church more toward a radical and a more prophetic language, pull the church in the direction of being able to be expressive of themselves, not only in a polite way, but in an angry way. Dr. King had an angry side as well. The difference between Dr. King and Malcolm X is that Malcolm X spent a lot of time in jail. So he had more of his rhetoric was more flavored with street talk.
Right.
Malcolm X,
he knew how to
Martin Luther
relate.
King, he was more of a middle class family. So he knew how to speak in very polite, mannerable ways.
Yes.
And so that's the concept of good cop, bad cop, because people thought that because Martin Luther King was speaking in a more polite, mannerable, conciliatory way, that he didn't have any anger. But he comes off as a good cop, even though he was hated by 75% of America, according to one poll. Malcolm X was more hated. Malcolm X was more hated. And so, so the idea was, and I talk about it in my book, and Ossie Davis talked about this in the documentary as well, that the idea was the good cop is the traditional civil rights movement coming out of the Black church. The alternative was the Black Muslim movement and socially conscious movement, who were very angry in the way they expressed their rhetoric. And so the idea was, which one do you want to choose?
Mm.
And so
Yeah, the Muslims were
I'm
more
sorry for
confrontational.
say it again now.
The Muslims were more confrontational.
More
You know, they were,
confrontational, exactly.
yeah, they were.
I
your
think they were
face.
more unapologetic. You know, they were going. They wanted certain things, and they were going to do it, and they weren't going to be nice about it. But you know, I think it also is kind of in the family that you grow up in, because in my family, I was taught about Dr. King. I didn't know who Malcolm X was until I got to college. And then when I started to ask, well, who is Malcolm X? Nobody told me exactly who he was. I mean, so I actually thank goodness for the movie because and the book, because that was the way I was able to learn more about him. But I think it was also because I grew up in a Christian family, so they related more to Dr. King rather than Malcolm X.
Yes, exactly. You go into the Black church, the church fans all have Dr. Martin Luther King on them.
Right.
You won't find any church with Malcolm X image on a church fan. And so
well, plus he wasn't a Christian either. So you have to take that into account. He was a Muslim, well, Nation of Islam Muslim. So that,
yes, absolutely.
Into account.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was. When did I learn about Malcolm X? I might have been in college too. When I read his autobiography, that was my real.
Right. That was when I really learned about him and learned what he had done.
Right.
And then I don't think I actually even finished reading the book before I saw the movie, because the movie came out while I was in college. So that was when I really started to learn more about him. And then I also realized that I guess militant is in a way, kind of in the eye of the beholder, but he wasn't as militant as people made him out to be. Yes. I mean, that's why you have to do your own research. So, I mean, I love the fact that you're saying that they were basically more alike than they were different.
Yes, exactly. As a matter of fact, let me draw a comparison between the NAACP and Dr. King. Leaders such as Roy Wilkins, the NAACP during that time were more assimilationists than they were integration. In other words, the idea is if we act a certain way, if we speak a certain way, if we accomplish certain things, white people are going to start liking us. And they're going to start viewing us as being more fit to be able to be welcomed into the mainstream of society. This impacted a lot of churches because they began to say, let's not sing Negro spirituals because that's backwards. White people aren't going to appreciate us. Let's not sing, dance, and clap in church because that's too African. There's a long history in that. So the idea is the more we assimilate, the more we become accepted. Malcolm X and Dr. King pushed back on that notion. Many people don't realize is that Dr. King didn't necessarily agree with the approach of Roy Wilkins and others that we need to assimilate and make ourselves more palatable. Today we call it respectability politics. So, right. So Dr. King, what happens is Dr. King did not march with Malcolm X, but he did march with Stokely Carmichael. And Stokely Carmichael, we all know, is the mini Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. When Dr. King gave his speech in the Ebenezer Baptist Church against the Vietnam War, because the militants were anti-imperialist. They were against imperialism, and the Vietnam War reflected imperialism. The people he contacted to come to the Ebenezer Church to hear him preach that sermon wasn't the Royston types. He invited Stokely Carmichael and all of his comrades to come to the Ebenezer Baptist Church. He wanted their support, and he wanted them to know that he was on their side in the struggle. And so here you have on Sunday morning, Stokely Carmichael and all of the so-called radicals that were with him are in church, standing shoulder to shoulder with Dr. King to protest American imperialism on Sunday morning. Stokely Carmichael got a call from Dr. King the night before to come to church Sunday morning. And Stokely Carmichael said, I thought you were busy doing the Lord's work. And Dr. King said, Stokely, both you and I are doing the Lord's work, and I want to see you on Sunday morning. So just like Malcolm, Stokely Carmichael was very confrontational, and he made white people uncomfortable in his rhetoric. Dr. King agreed with Stokely Carmichael, and Stokely Carmichael, I quote him up quite a bit in my book. He says that Dr. King never was against Black power, or the phrase Black power, or the concept behind Black power. His only reservation was that the phrase could be misinterpreted, and that white people would be able to put whatever spin they wanted on that phrase. But Stokely Carmichael says on several occasions, Dr. King, when he reflects back, was with us when it came to Black power. Even when the NAACP and other Black leaders were against us, were writing against us, talking about how they're going to set us back, Dr. King was on our side. And so I talk about how the Black power movement and the traditional civil rights movement merged under Dr. King and Stokely Carmichael. And it would have been Malcolm had he not been assassinated in '65.
Yeah, a couple of things that you mentioned about the NAACP. One, a lot of people don't know that, like the first several presidents of the NAACP were white. It wasn't until the 60s or the 70s or maybe the 80s. I don't remember what year they had their first Black president of the NAACP, but it was even the Spingarn Award. Isn't that named after a white person? I don't want to misspeak.
Right.
But most of the early leaders of the NAACP were white, and with the Stokely and the Malcolm, sort of the opposition or the difference between him and Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King said that a lot of things he got done, he was able to get done because white people were scared of Malcolm and Stokely Carmichael. So he was the better option. And that's why a lot of the things got done.
Yes, absolutely. Malcolm X said when his brother went back to Michigan to visit another one of his relatives that was being elected as a city councilman, Malcolm said, make sure you tell them it's because of us radicals that he's able to be in that position that he is right now. Another aspect that a lot of those in the traditional civil rights movement missed, that both Dr. King and Malcolm X were able to articulate, and that was the Black is beautiful, mental and psychological emancipation, which is entirely biblical concept, because of course David said in the Psalms, he says, I will praise thee because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Song of Solomon 1:6, the woman that is addressed there says that I am black and beautiful. Dr. King had several speeches where he talked about this. We only hear about I have a dream. We don't
And he
hear
had more
about
than
a
that.
lot of those speeches that deal with black pride, black power, black autonomy. Just as Malcolm advocated for reparations by way of land, Dr. King advocated for reparations. But today's society, and sadly, many black people, because we don't read like we should, fall into that trap of I have a dream, and we don't see the other speeches where Dr. King is condemning America in a similar way that Malcolm did. Black is beautiful, Black solidarity. Those were themes all throughout Dr. King's. And I believe that it was influence of Malcolm and the street preachers that pulled him in that direction, just as he pulled them in the direction of political action as well.
And well, we could probably talk about this for probably another 30 minutes because this is so interesting. And but I want to thank you for spreading this knowledge and for making that comparison, because it helps us to see our historical leaders in a different light. So I thank you for that. Do you have the book with you? Can you show it to us?
Yeah, he
Yes.
Okay,
showed it.
yeah,
He had
there it is.
pictures
That's right.
on.
I remember now.
Mhm.
Yeah, you showed it so far in the beginning of the interview. I forgot.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
can you tell us where we can find it?
You can find it on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and wherever books are found. It talks about history. It talks about theology. It talks about current events as well, very relevant for our times. There's a lot of comparative studies concerning Malcolm and Martin, but this is probably the most up-to-date dealing with events in the post-2020 world. I encourage you to get it.
Okay. Yeah, it's always good to have an update on, as we reflect on the past, to have an update to see how it's relevant to the present. Because these things happen on a continuum. It's all woven together based on what happened then and what's happening now. It's all on a continuum. So thank you for the amazing amount of research you did, and congratulations on completing your doctoral studies last year and getting your PhD, your second one.
Thank you. I appreciate your forum, Ms. Richardson and Dr. Lawson. And I'm just so thankful that you're highlighting and showcasing Black excellence, African-American literature. We need more of what you all are offering. Thank you so much.
And thank you, because we need more of what you're offering as well. You can never know too much about your history.
Absolutely, especially in these times when they're trying to erase a lot of our history as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you once again for being on the show and for sharing your story. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You have a wonderful evening.
Good night.
Have a blessed evening.
You do the same.
Okay, well, we have 2 books to give away, so we're going to do that before we bring the next guest on. Rhonda is the next guest in the waiting room.
She is. It's just Julia. We can let her in.
Okay, we can. Okay, okay, because she, Burnett Nettles ended up having a conflict that she didn't know about until too late. So anyway, we have 2 books, and these are both YA fiction. So the first book is called Rhythm and Muse, and it's by India Hill Brown. And it's an ARC, it's an advanced reading copy. And the trivia about this book is the author is a graduate of which HBCU? Whoever answers first gets the book. And the second book is called Epic Ellison's Cosmos Camp by Lamar Giles. I need to make sure you all can see the cover. It's Epic Ellison's Cosmos Camp, and the author is Lamar Giles. And the trivia on this book is the author is the co-founder of what literary organization? So it'll be an organization's name for this book. And for the other book, it will be an HBCU for this one. Okay, so you can answer at any time. The first person who answers correctly gets the book. And we're going to bring on our next guest, who's actually representing Burnett Nettles. So she's the publisher of Burnett Nettles' new children's book, No Stranger to Black Authors Matter TV, and it's Julia Royston of B.K. Royston Publishing. So
Okay, so while Julia is coming in, you know, Mary Evans already gave the answer to the first
she got
question.
the first one. Claflin University is the name of the HBCU.
Hey, Julia.
Hi, Julia. Okay, Mary, you win the book, and it will be on its way to you. So, and whoever gets the next book, it is the name of an old literary organization. But Julia, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV. I think you come on once a year or so, I think, seems like.
Julia, I'm gonna need you to unmute so we can hear you.
Unmute your mic so we can hear you. Uh-oh. We still can't hear you.
Oh,
There
no, what
you go.
happened? You can hear me now? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Hold on. Now I miss you guys. That's why I'm coming on once a year. I gotta do that.
Okay.
Once a year. No, I'm joking. Good evening. How y'all doing?
We're
Wonderful.
doing
How are
great.
you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So BK Royston will be in the house again this year at the National Black Book Festival. And also, Julia is going to be facilitating the publishers panel, which she did last year. We have 5 publishers who will be participating, including BK Royston. So those of you out there who want to hear directly from publishers, besides BK Royston, Amazon, well, it's now Kindle Rec Publishing, but it used to be Amazon KDP, but it's the same thing. They're going to be there. InterVarsity Press is the one other publisher. Black Odyssey Media, that's Entice's imprint that she recently launched, and she's got tons of authors. And what's the She Publishing LLC.
You can't forget she.
Yeah,
no.
But
We've been so many places together this year, the last year. So yeah.
You have? Okay, great.
Yeah. So it's I see her across the aisle and hey. Yeah,
okay.
So it's been good. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm super proud of both of you all. You all
thank you so
kind of seem like you all blossomed just as we launched the show. You may have been doing stuff before, but we didn't know about it, and it's like it just exploded since we did the show. Now we don't know if we had something to do with it. We're
just gonna take the credit that we had something to do with it.
Listen. Well, let me just say this, being a part of the National Black Book Festival and being on the page and all of that is how Dr. Burnett Nettles and I connected. And so therefore, I probably had 2 other authors in Alabama before I met her, 2 or 3. Now I probably have 12. So that was so I can credit you all for kind of opening not kind of opening door, but opening that door, because based on me being on that website, she called me, and then kind of the rest is history. So we've been connected now, at least for the last 4 years, heading into 5 years, because the first book I published for her was in 2019. And that was, and then the COVID thing happened, and then we were all virtual. As they say, we was all in the house.
Yeah, we were
But, it has really been For me, I've been doing this publishing now 15 and a half years. So February to be 16 years. So, it was next level. Now, I really enjoy seeing other people's books and meeting the other authors. And some of them I have been, just like sitting there and all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in the same room with them. I turn into a literary groupie at times. Some people do that to me, but I'm like, oh no, I'm nobody. Did you see? Did you hear? So I turned into a book groupie, and so I really enjoy it. I do have authors in the Houston area too, so it gives me an opportunity to meet and greet. So it just fulfills my kind of all my literary options and opportunities and meeting new people and all of that good stuff. So
That's wonderful.
I highly encourage people to really bring your questions and bring your educational hat. I also ask you please to help promote. Don't just come like a diva. Make sure that it's a two-way street. Make sure
I
that
tell
the people in the
that
photo-
every week, Julia. I say,
I know
y'all,
you do, love.
I say y'all go to these events that and just because the promoter is promoting the event, you feel like I can just ride on that wave and I don't have to tell people I'm coming.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
No,
I
it
mean,
doesn't work
I
like
don't
that.
care what event you're going to. I don't care how big it is
Or how small
or
it
how
is.
small it is.
Or
But I
how
say
small it is.
I like to say I don't care how big it is because it could be a huge event.
Right.
But if it's a huge event like National Black Book Festival, where there are going to be 50 or 60 other authors there.
No, 100.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's probably,
It's 100.
Okay, it's 100 authors there.
Yeah.
Now, Gwen is not promoting just one author at a time. She's promoting the event.
Yeah.
So how
Right.
are people supposed to know that you are at the event if you're not telling people? She's promoting the event, but people will come to the event to support you if you tell them that you're coming.
Right. So
and they won't know they're not coming to see you unless you've invited people.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
That's the thing. They're coming to the overall event, or they're probably coming to see one of the featured authors.
Right.
Or names people know.
Right.
That's why we invite them to bring in the crowd.
Exactly.
As well as all the other amenities. I tell people all of the free stuff they can take advantage of that they would never be able to meet all these people and get all this information in one place.
No.
It just it's not possible.
But just think if 100 of us are all promoting at the same time, if all 100 are promoting, and then you're posting on your platform one, and then if one other person shared, just one person shared it, the multiplication of that. So, I know that a lot of authors are like, well, they feel like they paid $1 million, but you still got the venue, you still got, like, boo. And I do events all the time. So that's the reason why I have no problem saying it, because a lot of times it's very difficult. And I get highly frustrated when I say, okay, we're going to go live. And I had it on my Facebook cover for a month and I never saw it on their page until like an hour before. I'm like, well, people got lives, they got stuff they could be doing.
I tell people that all the time. You paid to be a part of the event. And you're not even going to share it to your Facebook page to let people know that you're coming. You don't have to go live. We're not telling you to send out a press release, even though it'd be cool if you did.
Yeah. And we're not too.
But if 100 authors all had 10 people each to come, that's 1,000 people.
Yes.
Who would come to the event if everybody actually promoted themselves when they come to these events. But then you come to the event and then you're mad and then you're sitting behind your table like
God, this. I tell you, I've seen it. Because I think this will be my fifth year.
I did all
the virtual, at least 5 or 6 years, because I've done it before. Even the 2019, it was the year before. So it's probably my 5th year. Right. So my thing is okay, so no matter what, come with your questions. This is all kinds of classes, and we're going to be in the same room with you. So you can
Yeah.
be watching your table at the same time or have a friend, especially if it's something you really, 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 really need. And then secondly, you know, there are so many people. There are new authors who haven't been out there a long time. Then there's experienced authors. Baby, you getting thousands of dollars worth of training and education in a room with 100 authors, just looking at their banners, their table setups, their promotional materials,
Their
their
book covers.
covers,
Yeah.
their back of their
And look at all the
bios,
opportunities for content for your
Oh my God.
Instagram. I had so much content for about 2-3 weeks after National
I
Black Book.
always do my magazine, but this is the thing that I really want to encourage people to think about. My husband or somebody who's with me always goes and gets every author's business card or promotional materials. Okay. We could talk about promotional materials all day, but I'm not going to get on that soapbox tonight. But my thing is, I tell them I cannot buy your book, but I offer you the opportunity to be interviewed on my podcast or my platform. Do you know I interview probably less than 10 people? And it's free. And it is free. And I provide you a graphic. And it's on internet radio in 32 countries.
Yep.
They don't respond. They don't even call. They don't respond back. They don't do anything. They don't schedule. They don't reschedule. Even if we schedule, they don't show up. So I'm like, what's going on? What's really going on? What's really the issue? What's really going on?
People, and Julia, I'm gonna digress for a second.
Uh-huh.
People ask me to buy their book now, and I tell them, I literally know thousands of authors, thousands. So I can't possibly buy everybody's book. It's
And I
just
tell
not
them that
possible.
up front. I do. I
can't.
can't buy it. I can't.
And I don't want you to even give me your book, because I'm not going to have time to read it. And I'm not going to tell you I'm going to read it. I'm not going
Right.
to lie to you.
Mhm.
What I want you to do is sell your book to someone who wants to buy it.
Yes.
That's what I want you to keep it and do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
But
see, I
people
think
have
part of
idea-
the, well, no, I was just going to say, I think part of the problem is, and I understand it because I remember how it was when I first became an author. You know, you spend money to go somewhere, you spend money on the hotel, and then you're like, I have to sell these books. But when you get it in your mindset that your success only looks like selling all of your books, then you're missing out on so much, because you're missing out on networking opportunities. You're missing out. Amazon was there last year. You
Yeah.
could have gone up to
They've been
Amazon
around
and
for
asked them
4 years.
questions.
Well,
Yes.
they've been coming for
They'll
years
be
and years
back
and years.
again.
That's it. You could ask them
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
Right. And
I
then
mean,
you have free opportunities to get publicity. There's
Yes.
so much that you can do, but when you're only focused on selling your 10, 20, 30 books that you brought with you, or you overbought or you overordered books, so you brought 100 books because you heard it was going to be a big event, and now you're mad because you didn't sell it as many of them as you wanted to, that becomes the problem, because you're too focused on only sales as the definition of success. And success just takes so many different forms.
And it takes time.
Come back with-
It takes time to be, especially if you're just now coming out. Because one of the beautiful things about the literary industry is that it is now, the door has opened and now the access is there. I mean, if we had just the big five to go on, and we didn't have any of the self-publishing sites, which hint, hint, we'll be talking about on Friday at 1 o'clock. But if we didn't have that access, if we didn't have E.N.G.I.N.E.E.R, we didn't have Drafted Digital, if we didn't have KDP, if we didn't have Lightning Source, if we didn't have those outlets, we would be, just be even rejections. Or I've seen people go to Kinko's and get them stapled or take their own documents and go and get them printed off site or whatever. You'd be doing everything yourself. So therefore, you got to understand the competition is stiff. There's a lot of people out there. So there's a lot of things. So you got to believe in your book if you don't believe in nothing else. You have to be the cheerleader, the advocate, the promo, the everything.
And don't let your off day be somebody's on day. You don't feel like you need to do all of that. You're not doing anything. You're not doing that. Gwen should have done it all for you. And then while somebody else promoted their behind off and told everybody they were coming to Houston, and they sold all their books, and they're selling books for the people who would have bought yours, but you didn't tell anybody.
Right.
And this is something that we do. We do so much free. And then we spend so much money on promoting, because I think right now we have four ads running simultaneously on Facebook and Instagram. They have different focuses, but we have a video promo, and then we have the graphic. So we're constantly promoting. We're going to have a billboard this year near the church that directs people that have that. So this is our first year doing the billboard. We're excited about that. And we just do so much promotion, but a lot of people, they have one book and they think they're going to set the world on fire. That's just not the way any of it works. I am going to have my 15th book it is in the final stages of production right now.
Ooh.
At the festival, my sequel to my novel. So I had a mystery that came out 10 years ago, and I'm doing the sequel. So finally, and I'm excited about it, but I don't sell everything to everybody. And
Right.
I haven't sold 1 million copies, and I have almost 15, but I've sold a lot of books.
Yes, yeah. And you know, I've sold a lot because I just put out 83.
Right. And now I'm never gonna catch Julia. This is not enough time.
Well, 84, 85, and 86 are at the Illustrator. So, and I pushed my project back.
I'm never catching up with Julia either. I'm tired.
No, I'm not gonna catch up with you. But when I wrote my first book, I never thought I would have a second and third book.
Yeah.
I wrote that first book.
Me neither.
I thought that was it. And so,
me too.
You know, now I'm in like 5 different genres with my books. Children, teens.
And that, you know, that is a key thing, that if you've ever thought about trying a different genre, you're not boxed in, you know.
Right.
You know, maybe in the traditional houses, they put you in categories, and
They
are just the fiction, and these are just the mystery thrillers, and these are just the sci-fi people. But when you're independent, or you're self-publishing, or you do a mixture of both, because I'm hearing that lately, that people are everywhere. They got their own literary services. They do a little bit of everything. Try something different. Now, I can truthfully say the children's books is a hot spot.
They are hot.
That's a hot spot right now. So if you've ever thought about it, you know, all that good stuff. So, you know, try it.
Yeah, that's something that's an area. It's been a dearth in that area for so long. And now there's a lot of material. And there's some really great material. Now there's some that's not that good. I'm just saying like that. You know, not everything's going to be in it.
You know, some people, let's just be politically correct. They didn't really invest in the graphics. They didn't really invest in the illustration.
Right. Or the story or any of it. They just said,
but they, you know, but the illustrations, they can get you a whole, as they say, my granddaddy used to say, a fur piece. They can get you along, but if the graphics and the text is not, you know, culturally sound and appealing, it's gonna be a hard sell, even though that is, to me, one of the hottest things going on right now in this space.
Yeah, with children's books, it's illustrations. If your illustrations really great, they have to be on point. And you have to invest a little money. And you know, really, there's a wide range of pricing in children's book illustrations. You can pay $200 and get some good illustrations. You can pay $5,000 and get some great ones, or you can pay $200 and get great ones. And you can pay $5,000 and get something that looks like somebody else's. And some people, some illustrators, they have you know, everybody has a style. And you start seeing books and you know who the illustrator is.
Oh yeah.
That's
it's like art, you know. It's like I can name 3 or 4 of them right now that I know.
Yes. So you know, you can pay a little bit or a lot. It just
I tell people, don't think just because, and you guys are hitting the nail on the head actually, but don't think just because it's a children's book and it's not as much writing, you know, it's a shorter book.
It still has to have a story.
That is going to be cheaper to do a children's book. And it's because it's actually going to probably be a little more expensive because you have to pay that graphic designer. The illustrator.
Yeah. And you still need to get it edited.
It still needs, I don't care if it's just a few words on the page. It still needs to be
Yeah.
edited.
To be right.
And
Yes.
if somebody said something, it needs to be in dialogue format. It's like
Yes.
radio.
Yes.
Yes, and this is being quote. It's
Yeah.
just some small, it's the little things, but that's where some people are good at telling a story, but they're not good at the mechanics. And that's why you need an editor, or at least a copy editor, a proofer. You need somebody to look at your work and
Yeah, just go
correct
find your
it.
English teacher. Go find, I tell people all the time, okay, you can't pay an editor. There are retired teachers out there, English
Yeah.
teachers, who would
Yeah.
love to review and help you walk through the process. Now,
Right.
I am a writing coach. I can help you with that part, but it is a business for me. But if you have a relative or someone who's been a teacher, educator, some of them are retired and they would love to help you with that process so that it does make sense and so that it does sell and so that it does cross into an academic area to connect with the academic, because that's one of the important things for wider audiences is if your book connects with a wider audience academically and we can connect it with an academic area, then it makes sense. Now, a lot of children's books are for leisure, for fun reading and for, my own private reading, and that's good. But if you can connect it to an academic area, even if it's socially, even if it's behaviorally, even if it's mental health, it goes a lot longer, a long way. And then it has the possibility to really increase your sales. It really, really does.
And they have these, now they have these, a companion workbook that can go with a study guide.
Right.
It can go with your book.
Well, I try to put them in the back. I try to add prompts and questions, vocabulary, opportunities for doing more search, go online, find out, ask these questions. I try to do it for them because as an educator, we have a certain length of time, a short piece of time. And if you have a few minutes having to think that up and all of that, along with your own curriculum and everything, that's just a lot to do. So if you can help the teacher, help the educator, now this is $1 million idea, but if you can help the educator in some way, I'm serious.
No, and I've heard that before, so I believe
background. Yeah, in the back of the book already, not just about the author, but extended past that. Oh, it goes a long
that makes
way
sense.
to set
That makes sense.
all of that. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's some food for thought for my next children's book, which I'm planning to do in 2024. So
come on,
at least one, maybe two, but
let's
at least
do it.
one.
Let's
So
do
then,
it.
then
I'll do a children's book. It might be a while, but I'm gonna do one.
Well, we have to right now, it's like anything else. And, Dr. Nettles' book is representation matters. Yeah. And our children want to see themselves. And I'm going to tell you, and I know a lot of people, they do children's books with animals, and that's a wonderful thing. But if you're selling to specifically a Black audience, they really want to see themselves. They want to see Afro puffs. They want to see braids. They want to see the lighter hue. They want to see the darker hue. They want to see all of that in the book. And so even the few books that I have with animals, characters that I just test out and try out, I normally don't sell a lot of them. Now, if I'm in a mixed audience or a mixed crowd, the other ethnicities will buy into it. But as far as if it's an African-American event specifically targeted for us, we want to see ourselves. So that's a hint for some children's author out there too. Oh, I'll just put bears. I'll just put giraffes. So I'll just put, cows or pigs, whatever. And that's cute for a little bit. But that the broader audience for us specifically, it's not gonna do as well as actually them seeing themselves on there. Yeah.
Okay. Now we only have a few minutes left, so show us Vernette's book and tell us what her book is about.
Okay, so Beautiful Just Like Me, really, we were talking about hues and different shades of people. So Beautiful Just Like Me is a little girl who's bullied just because of the way she looks and her hair. And so therefore, her mother points out that her aunts and her grandmother are all different hues and all different shades, but they're all professionals. They all have jobs. They've all been accomplished in the arts and the sciences. And so that you can do it too. I have clearly seen, because We did a writer session at a elementary school together, and the little girl said, you know, she looks like me, and she was brown like her. And so that's the reason why that reputation really matters. As a matter of fact, the little girl she liked the book so much. We weren't selling the books there. We were just talking about writing, etc. She had the book in her backpack. And so she pulled it out. She said, look, Dr. Nana, I have the book. I keep it with me at all times.
Aw.
And of course, when she held it up to her face, she was brown like the child. And I said, you're one of the main reasons why I tell authors you need to have different color skin for different children. Now, what I'm working on now, besides Beautiful Just Like Me, you can get it at VernetteCnettles.com. That's her website. But who I'm working on next is I have a book that's coming out. That's the 84 and 85. That is really focuses on the biracial children. I had a grandmother come to me, and she's like, I love the Black children, I really do, but do you have anything specifically for biracial children? I told her, give me a minute and let me get it to my illustrator and let me get through that, because she said her grandson was like 4 or 5 years old, and the other children in the school were calling him clear because he wasn't Black and he wasn't white. He was clear. I said, but he's not clear. What does that mean? Clear? Oh, that's so terrible.
Sometimes.
Oh my gosh. I said,
I've heard that term before.
I mean, you know, he can tan. He's beautiful brown. He's just, you know, he just has a Black mom and a white dad, or a white dad and a Black mom. I mean, it doesn't matter. But they want representation too, because they don't feel like I'm not brown enough for here, but I'm not white, and where do I fit, and where am I at? So that's what I'm working on too. So if you've thought about that, that's my third idea for you tonight, if you're an author and you're considering doing that, because 11.5% of the children's books have a Black main character, but in the ethnicities, the diverse groups, we're the highest. So everything, Native American, Asian, the special needs babies, sensory, and biracial, they're all underneath there. So if we're 11 and a half, then where is the rest of them going to fall? And 26 are animals, and then 55, of course, are Caucasian or white. So therefore, you know, we got a long way to go. But when I first started 15 years ago, we were at 7. So now we moved up 4 or 5 points. And if they really included a lot of the self-published, we probably be about 15 to 20. But, you know, it's just all depends on who's doing the calculating and who's doing the surveying, you know.
That's true.
That's
true for everything.
It is. But I'll take that number and run on it, because I'm really striving to be on my soapbox to really encourage other people to write. And I know we're out of time, but I look forward to seeing you all in Houston. And
I can't believe Houston is right around the corner already.
Right. You can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Goodness,
I got
I'm
back
not
from
ready.
my cruise, and I've been nonstop ever since. I got some rest on there, but I'm not gonna have any rest.
Oh yeah, I did a cruise too with the radio station. I was asleep. They were like, "You were staying in your room, sleep, baby." Them waves and the movement of that boat just lulled me on like to sleep, like you would in your mama's arms.
All right, Miss Julia.
I love it.
We're gonna see you next month. Thank you so much for coming on, dropping your jewels like you always do.
I try to, I'm not gonna hide nothing. I'm gonna let y'all have it so we can all win. Yeah,
You're right. We all win. Okay, we'll see you in October 26th, 27th, and 28th.
Yes, love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, before we bring on our final guest, did anybody win the I didn't see it. Anybody?
Yeah, actually somebody did. It's a new one.
A new person?
Yes. It was, where is it? Oh, there we go. Curtis Steverson.
Oh, he's not new.
Oh, you're right. I had to read it again. He's not new. He won before.
Yeah, he is new.
He's new. He's not new to the show. I mean, he's a new winner though. But I think
he's not a new winner. He's not a new
That's what I'm saying. Didn't he win one other time?
I think a couple of times. But he's one of our newer committed viewers. Like he's on every week now.
Right.
And he
well, the answer was we need diverse books.
Yeah, it is. And so Curtis, you win, and the book will be on its way. And he loves. Did you do the love, or did he do the love?
Well,
On
I
the
said
heart.
I always give hearts to the people who win.
Oh, okay, okay. So, Curtis, your book will be on the way. So we have our final guest, and he goes by the moniker, I guess that's the right word, Richnovated, but his name is Rich Gilliam, and he has a book. And Rich is with She Publishing, and She Publishing will be in the house at the festival again this year. So Rich or Richnovated, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And if you can unmute your mic so we can hear you.
How's it going? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
Yeah.
now. Will you be coming to Houston with She Publishing next month? For
I
the
don't
book
think
festival?
I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to Houston this year. I was there last year. I wasn't with She Publishing last year. I was with another book that I had published. It wasn't through She Publishing, but I was in Houston last year. But I don't think I'll be able to make it this year.
Oh,
Okay,
that's okay.
well,
But you have a lot going on. You have a book releasing Friday.
yes,
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's right here.
There it
It's
is.
Engineer Your Way.
Yeah.
And
Engineering
you are an
design.
engineer by profession, by training?
Yes, I'm a robotic engineer. Yes, I work in
Oh, wow,
robotics.
robotics.
Wow.
Yeah.
robotics.
Yeah.
What got you interested in robotics? Was this something that you were interested in since you were a child?
Oh no, not at all. Nah, I'm not one of those people at all. I actually, that's another reason why I kind of wrote my book, and it's a lot in my book, but I had a 1.8 GPA when I graduated high school. So it's been a journey.
Wow.
It's been a journey for me. And when I went to college, I went to St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina, HBCU.
Yes.
And I actually studied biology, and I was actually a scientist when I first graduated school, doing neuroscience research for the government. So I was doing, science research for a few years. Then I actually made a transition into engineering and robotics. So it's been an entire journey. That's a whole nother story.
Wow. Well, the fact
Wow.
that you had a 1.8 GPA and then studied
Went on to
biology,
college.
that right there. Well, and pick biology.
Right.
Normally, in order
Yeah.
to do biology, you have to be one of those 4.0s and above, or at least a 3.8. So why did you select biology as your major? Was that the area you did well in school? You just didn't do that well in the other things, and that's why your
not really, honestly. Like, well, my senior year in high school, I did do like my senior high school project on kidney disease. I had an aunt that passed away from kidney disease. So, I did a project on kidney disease, and just like I did some like research at different dialysis centers and stuff like that. So I did that my senior year. And then when I got to college, I didn't really know what I wanted to study like at first. So I remember just asking my mom, I was like, I don't know what I want to study. And she was like, oh, you like to doing your high school project on kidney disease, and that was dealing with science. Maybe you should try out biology. So I just, went for biology, and then it was kind of like, I don't know, I look at myself as a lifetime learner. So once I got focused, it was just kind of on from there.
But I think what's wonderful is that you have people in your life who didn't give up on you. You graduating from high school with a 1.8, and then you still had family members who were encouraging you to still go to college, and not only just go to college, but don't just pick any major. Pick biology is a hard major.
any of the sciences are tough in
Yeah.
college, especially.
So I mean, I
mean,
just feel like it's because people believed in you. How long was it before you believed in yourself? You believed what they were saying to you, though.
Honestly, I would say, to be honest, like, I guess, life is a journey, right? I'm 30 years old now. And, when I got to college, I was definitely, motivated, and, really, really, I felt believed in myself. But now, I would really say over the past 3-4 years, I really, I guess, really found myself and branded myself and have I guess, started to become even more confident in myself and my brand, besides, just being a engineer or a scientist. Like, I've branded myself into to Richnovated, right? So that's like,
Mhm.
being that forward thinking person myself, because everything that I think of and everything I do, I think 10 years from now. I don't think about like the next couple months or like the next year. So I mean, I really just say it's been a journey my entire life, but definitely, going to college, and then really, for me, like, really experiencing another environment than, where I was from in Philly, really had a positive like effect in my life for sure.
Wonderful.
Hmm. So St. Aug, my daughter went to North Carolina Central.
Oh,
So,
okay,
and
Eagles,
my people are from North Carolina. So, and she
that's
talked about St. Aug. So,
yeah.
how was the environment at St. Augustine? Like, how big a school is it? And
Oh, it's
what's,
small.
okay.
It's definitely small. Yeah, definitely small. Good. It was cool though. I was able to build relationships with all my teachers and stuff like that. But, definitely coming to the South is definitely different than the North. Like, I'm from Philly, so it was definitely coming to the South was definitely different than Philly. So it was a new experience, but it definitely definitely was a positive effect in my life. I think so.
Yeah, my daughter said going to an HBCU it's just a more nurturing environment, and
I agree with that.
you're around Black people who are all trying to do something with their lives, but you can be yourself, and so you don't have to feel like uh you're not a minority. So, when you're in a situation when you're at a PWI and you're like one of this 2 or 3%, like it was at Georgetown when I went, that's a whole different thing. And I envy people who go to HBCUs because they go back. They say, like, my daughter's planning to go to her homecoming again. So
Yeah.
she goes to homecoming weekend at Central. And I think she's been to every homecoming since she graduated. She
Oh,
graduated in
okay.
2018 from Central. So, and
Okay. That's
so,
cool.
but St. Aug is one of the schools. I think they played football against them, or just they were around, because all of those North Carolina HBCUs kind of connect together.
For sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely been up Central a lot. Central is definitely is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So your book, Engineer Your Way,
Mhm.
one, does the acronym stand for something? All those
It does. It does. It
okay.
does.
So
It's a long acronym, but it
yeah,
definitely
it is, because
stands
that
for
word
It's
engineer
a
is
long
long.
word.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. But I know I'm all about, I guess, hidden messages. So the book is called Engineer Your Way, of course, because I'm an engineer, but engineer is really that, that vehicle, right? But once you get into the car, it's really, about something completely different, right? So it's going into
Okay.
talking about embracing everything that you've been through in life. So me talking about I had that 1.8 GPA in high school, right? But that's not where I'm at today. Really navigating through everything you've been through in life. Having gratitude for different situations that might inspire within your life. Innovation, because me, like I said, I'm a forward thinker. So really thinking about everything that I do, but in a forward thinking mindset. So thinking 10 years from now, not just next month or next year, right? Emotional intelligence, really having empathy for others, and really just reassuring yourself as well, like, of just having that self-confidence. So it's really those kind of like outlying, I guess, soft skills is really what's
Mhm.
allowed me to build what I have today, not my, technical knowledge, right? You might think on like you say science and engineering, you're like, oh, you must be real smart. I mean, I am smart, but like, I feel like my outlying soft skills have really allowed me to build more so where I'm at today compared to, my technical skills. So really, putting out, some a book like that for people that, you know, I feel like this book is for anybody that is a dreamer and has, you know, has dreams in themselves that they want to manifest. Being able to hear from someone that's transparent and sharing their story, as well as giving tips on how they can build to kind of get to where they want to get to.
Do you think your book is, and I love what you said, but is your book, do you think it's for younger people to encourage them? Or is this for people who are in the field, who are already in robotics, or who are already engineers? Or maybe just people who might have been where you were, maybe not knowing what direction they wanted to go into?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't just say it's just for people that want to be engineers. It's definitely not just, for those technical people. Like I said, I feel like it's for anybody that has dreams and ambitions, but might be, needing that extra push or being inspired. So yeah, I feel like it's for all ages. I mean, I've already talked to different people at, colleges that say they want to get this like in curriculum at different universities, to different entrepreneurs, to business people. So it's been, kind of all around the box.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I like one of your the G, you have gratitude, I believe, is what you use for that. And talk about why you picked that word for the book, why you think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, gratitude. I don't know. I'm a firm believer of just what you put in the universe, you get back, right? So, and I'm a thankful person for, not even things that good that happened to me in my life, but also things that I've, maybe been through in life as well, that I've been able to learn from. So gratitude, like I'm a man of principles, so gratitude is just one of my principles that I live by. And I feel like, just because I've had gratitude, I've been like blessed with different things in my life, or just been, living that way. So yeah.
That's a good way to show that gratitude, by writing a book like this. How long is the book? It doesn't look like it's really long, so it looks like it's pretty digestible.
Yeah, it's about I would say it's about 84 pages.
Not
Okay,
too
so
bad.
you can read
Yeah.
in one sitting. It's one of the books that you can
It's
sit down
not
and read
too
it.
long. It's not like a Harry Potter book.
Well, I never read Harry Potter, but I read some thick books, but I was just not a Potter fan, or whatever they're called, the Potter people. Now you have a multi it's something that they're called, but I just can't remember what it is, because I wasn't in that world, so to speak. And Sylvia didn't. My daughter didn't. She did read a couple of Harry Potter books, I think, but she wasn't really into it either. So you have a multi-city book tour you're about to go on.
Yeah. I am. I'm still in the planning stages, but
Okay.
definitely it's going to be happening. So
coming to DC?
I might be. So DC isn't on my official tour yet, but I might be coming to DC in the new year. I know She Publishing was telling me about a book festival in DC, I think in February, I think.
She was telling you about my event.
Oh, that's yours. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
She told me she was going to talk to some of her authors.
Yeah, small world. I'm sorry. Wow.
Was it the Black History Month Literary Weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my event.
Okay. What's the date of it again?
It's February 22nd through the 24th, and it's going to be in the DC area.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely
We had a good time last year.
Yeah, I love DC, minus the traffic.
Oh my goodness, the traffic here is horrible.
Yeah.
I don't traffic bad.
No, traffic here is like on a whole different level. I don't care what time you get on the Beltway, it's going to be packed. You can get on the Beltway at 2:00 in the morning, and there's going to be traffic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't get on the freeway here a lot, but the ones I get on are ones that are not like and I'm blessed. I work 10 minutes from where I live, and just about everything I do is in a 3-mile radius. So I don't have to get on. Our freeways are terrible, except for our belt is not congested. I lived in DC, so I know about that belt.
Yeah.
Our belt is new, so it goes around the city, so it's not. It's like an outer belt, so it does.
Okay.
So it's not. It's the
Well,
traffic.
Houston has a lot of belts.
Yeah. Well, we only have one beltway. We have a lot of freeways, though.
Yeah, a lot of
We only
freeways.
have one beltway. It's a lot of new people that have moved here in the last 5 years. It's just, and new people, they don't know how to drive. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So anyway, so your book comes out officially on Friday.
Yeah, it comes out officially on Friday. I actually did I guess a pop-up drop at Invest Fest in Atlanta.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was a vendor in a Invest Fest in Atlanta. It was about 2 weeks ago, and I went down there with about 100 books and only came back with about 15. So almost sold out all the books I had, and that
Not
was
bad
like
at all.
that
Not
was
bad at all.
that was without any even promotion. Like I literally threw it on my like Instagram the same day that I was gonna be at Invest Fest doing a pop-up with the book, and it went pretty well.
I think it goes to show you people are interested in your story. You have a very inspiring story. So I'm glad that you shared it and didn't keep it to yourself.
Yeah. No, definitely. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've built a brand and a following over the past year through my business STEM plug. I published before this book, I published a children's STEM book last year called Diverse in STEM. It's just a children's book. That's the book I was actually at Houston with last year. And
Okay.
it's just a book to inspire children from all different backgrounds to go into STEM. And since I did that, I've built a brand around STEM. I have a podcast as well called the STEM Plug Podcast that has thousands of listeners on all my episodes right now. It's on like Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So I've started to build a brand and build a following, and just looking to continue to inspire people from my life story, right? A lot of people get to a certain stage in their life and want to go be so high horse, right? But I'm transparent about everything that I've been through in my life, because that's not where I'm at today. So I can share all of that. Sorry, my computer almost fell. I can share all that. So yeah.
Well, I think just your high school to now saga is very inspirational, because most of the time when people think about the GPA of 1.8, they just think of failure. And I'm just being realistic about how people perceive things. Normally, they wouldn't see that as success, but you didn't make that stop you from being a success. And I'm not sure how much encouragement you got from your educators. Do you want to share that? Did they give you encouragement?
My educators, what, in high school?
In high school. So, okay.
I mean,
So
I don't know, like, I can't even, like, I don't know, high school, I just wasn't, I'm not even gonna lie and say that my teachers weren't supportive of me. I just wasn't focused. I didn't have much motivation around me growing up. And I guess also looking back at my life back then as well, I probably didn't have, I don't think I showed it, but probably didn't have that like self-confidence in my abilities as well. So I'm not even gonna sit here and make excuses and say my teachers didn't care for me. It was on me. I just wasn't motivated. That's all I have to say.
That's a very mature way to look at it, though, because often people would try to blame the teacher and say they didn't care, but it's a very mature way that you say you blamed you because you weren't motivated and you weren't focused. Is that something that you talk about in your book as well?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely taking that that self-acknowledgement of yourself, and that kind of all goes into, emotional intelligence, right? So understanding when you gotta take the control of your life, right? You can't make
Mhm.
excuses or play victim in anything. You play that victim game, life starts to fly and you look up and all your goals and all your things you want to accomplish is just going by because you just want to play victim your entire life. So yeah, I don't got nobody to blame.
Well,
So,
you learned some valuable lessons at 30 because
right.
some people are much older than you and still got now.
Yeah, you got a point there. But I did want to ask you just a bit more about because I did see that you have a YouTube page. Is your YouTube page where you house your podcast?
Yeah, so I have my podcast on YouTube. It's on Spotify as well, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts as well. But yeah, I have 12 episodes out right now. I'll be probably dropping another episode actually this week.
Wow,
So
thousands of
yeah.
listeners with 12 episodes. You're not doing too shabby.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good content. It's good content. Yeah.
So you
And
talk about STEM related
well,
subject.
I have different guests on there. So, all of my guests are doing, cool things within science, technology, engineering, and math. So like one of my episodes, I had a holistic scientist on. She was talking about holistic science, and also she offers holistic courses. So not only was she talking about holistic science, she also was talking about the services that she offers. Another episode I had was a cybersecurity engineer. So he was talking about cybersecurity and also like his coaching services. And kind of my podcast really started with just like, like I said, I look at myself as a lifetime learner. And I've already, I have a wide network, a lot of people doing, cool things within STEM that I'm always like just, learning from that what they're doing. So I just got to a point where I was just like, why don't I take the same time where I might be learning from somebody and now just put it on a platform. So that's why I started my podcast. And everything that I do is a vehicle to something else. So, even with my podcast has allowed me to, put myself out there more, build my brand more. It's led to me getting more consulting gigs and coaching gigs from people seeing my podcast, as well as speaking opportunities, as well as collaborating, like being able to collaborate with other people and help them build their brand as well. So it's been a win-win for me.
All right. Well, congratulations on all you're doing. We still have a few minutes left.
I had a
So-
question for him.
okay.
What made you go to St. Aug? What made you go to college? Okay, I'm gonna put it three. What made you go to college? What made you pick St. Aug and leave home? Okay, leave home and pick St. Aug.
What made me go to college, you said?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so what made me go to college? When I'm
Like, had you
I'm
planned
gonna
to go
give
to
you an
college?
answer. I'm gonna give
When-
you a
okay.
So I mean, originally, I came down. I did. I mean, so like my senior year, right? My senior year, I will say, like I started to, I guess, kind of like get on a better track. I know my mom like kind of started to. I remember like the 100 Black men in Philly. I started to like kind of see them sometimes my senior year. That started to get me on kind of a track, and then like I remember like visiting different colleges and stuff my senior year. So that probably started for me to get that interest. But still, my GPA was so low, I couldn't really like go to much schools. But you said a reason why I went to St. Aug. Like St. Aug gave me a chance. It wasn't many people taking the 1.8. So that was one of the reasons. And then when me and one of my best friends that I grew up with, we both came down here together and we visited the school together and we liked it. So that's kind of how we just ended up going. So
Well, I just like the fact that you've built your platform since then. I noticed you said you had children's books and you've started the podcast. So you've taken your knowledge and your robotics knowledge, your STEM knowledge, and then you've taken it in so many different directions. And I'm sure that this isn't something you just sat down one day and said, okay, I'm going to do all of this. Was this something that you kind of built on little by little?
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest with you, that's why I said life is a journey, right? Because it really took me to I almost lost my life in a car accident back in 2019. And
Wow.
that's what really took me to, I guess, take my dreams and ambitions seriously outside of my corporate job. Like, because it sounds cool to be a scientist or an engineer, and I can just do that, right? But I feel like I couldn't really make that real impact I wanted to make on the world by just being a scientist or an engineer. So that's really how my brand really came about. Like, even when like I said, I almost lost my life, I feel like, my life did completely change because, a lot of my qualities I have today, I feel like I built after that situation. And then, because I've had ideas, my children's book that I published last year, I had ideas of writing that probably since I graduated back in like 2016.
Okay.
But I just slept on the ideas, like just, I don't know, maybe not fully believing in myself and stuff like that. So it's, I'm glad that I did, go for it because, I've gotten this book into different schools. I've got into a school in Ghana.
Nice.
So it's like a worldwide now. I've been able to travel to a lot of different cities, connecting with kids all around the country. So, and that's something that I slept on for years. And it took me to almost, I guess, lose my life to actually take those dreams and ambitions seriously. So, yeah.
And
Really,
sometimes God has to wake you up any means necessary, huh?
yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely what happened.
Well, in the last couple of minutes, I do want to just have you say what you do in robotics. What
Yeah,
kind
for
of
sure.
robotics do you work in?
For sure. Yes, I work in like lab automation robotics. So basically, robots that you could just think of the work that a scientist might do in a lab. I program robots and put together infrastructure of robots that do the same task, but at more of a scale form. To break it down in a simple matter, that's basically what I do. But the type of robotics that I work in within lab automation, it's really, I look at it as like a jack of all trades almost, because like I said, I was a scientist before I, transitioned into being an engineer in robotics, but my science background is still important in the work that I do because I have to understand like all of the maybe, specific, particular like experiments that I might program to be on a certain robot, stuff like that. So, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that sounds extensive. Well, Richnovated, thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. Show us your book again. And it's
For
called
sure.
Engineer
Engineer
Your Way.
engineer your way. That's it right there.
And I did put your link in the chat. So people
Okay.
can click and purchase your book, which I hope they do. We need to support this young man. He's doing some amazing things and he's motivating a lot of people to do some things, to get
I
into this.
appreciate it.
And I'm not even just talking about getting into the STEM field, but just being able to believe in themselves and to do whatever it is that they want to do. You don't have to let your past define you. So thank you for sharing your story.
No, for sure. I appreciate y'all having me. I look forward to seeing y'all soon at, a certain book event. We're definitely going to connect some more. So I appreciate the opportunity to have me having you on your platforms. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank
Have a
you.
wonderful
Great
evening. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week on Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.